All right, this is solving right triangles day 5. This is our last day of putting kind of all the things we've been learning together about SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to write that again at the very top so that we have our reference as to which trig function we are going to pick as we do each problem. So in the problems you're going to be doing today, you're going to get a triangle. There are always going to be 3 things given to you, and you have to find 3 things. So the first one, we get the 90-degree angle, we get another angle, and we get the hypotenuse. So I drew my line through the 90-degree angle over to my hypotenuse, so I know which one that is. From my 37, I know this one's going to be opposite, and this side will be adjacent. And then I like to go through and list the 3 things I'm finding. So I do not know what PQ is. That will be one thing I'm finding. I do not know what QR is. That's another thing. And angle P is the other thing I don't know. The angle P is kind of the nice easy one. I have 180 degrees in a triangle. I already know 90. I already know 37. So that leaves 53 for angle P. It's a nice easy one right off the bat. Now I could use 53 for the rest of the problem, but let's just say in some weird world I actually get this one wrong. If I use that number, then I'm going to continue to get problems wrong. So I kind of want to stick to just using what they gave me in the picture. That way I have a less chance of messing things up. So in the picture I got the 37. We identified that that's opposite. This is adjacent. And we're just going to pick one of these letters to solve for, either O or A. Really doesn't matter. So I'll just cover up O and we'll do A first. So I've got an A and an H left. That means I'm using cosine. We'll do it down here. After the trig function always comes your angle, so we have 37 degrees. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, 22. We'll put our cosine over a 1, and then we're going to cross multiply. So 22 times cos 37 is going to equal our adjacent side. 22 cos 37 gives me about 17.57. And that side for us was actually QR. So right on QR's place, I'm going to put 15. Whoops, it's 17.57. Now we have the other one to solve for, so I'm just going to cover this up. Again, I could use this to figure out this side, like we could do a little Pythagorean's theorem. But if I mess this one up and I use that, then there's a very real chance I'm going to mess this one up too. So I'm going to just ignore that actually and just stick to what they gave me in the picture, which is the 37 and the 22. This side is opposite, so now we're going to switch over and use sine instead. Sine of 37, opposite over hypotenuse 22. And I'm going to multiply again, so 22 sine 37 equals my opposite. So 22 sine 37 gives me about 13.24. And that was this side. Now I could do a couple of different checks, like I could do Pythagorean's theorem, so that squared plus that squared has to equal 22 squared. I'll just do it as a quick check. So 13.24 squared plus 17.57 squared, and then I'm just doing 22 squared, and I am pretty darn close. A little bit of rounding, but that is close enough for government work, so we did that one right. Next one, the difference is I don't get an angle this time. So using what we learned in the previous lesson about inverses, we're going to attempt to find those missing angle measures. So in this picture, I do not know angle A, I do not know angle C, and then I don't know CB, that side right there. Well, this time I actually get 2 sides and I need the third one, so that's just Pythagorean's theorem. So identifying my hypotenuse, that's the side that has to be by itself. So 12 squared equals 7 squared plus, and then this would be CB, so I'll just do CB squared. So we'll take our 12 squared, we'll minus our 7 squared, and we'll be left with 95, and we just need to remember, whoops, squared, we just need to remember to square root. So the square root of 95 is about 9.74. Okay, and then when you're solving for an angle, you have to pick which angle you're going to solve for. So I'm going to start with A, so I'm going to put my finger on A. The 7 side would be adjacent to that, and the 12 is still the hypotenuse. So A and H are cosine. So I'm going to sneak a cosine down here. And we're going from A, that's where my finger is, so that's my angle, adjacent over hypotenuse. So we're going to do angle A is then the cosine inverse of 7/12. So if we need to solve for A and we're moving the cosine over, when that comes over here, it actually turns into the inverse. And inverses are how we solve for angles. So there's my cosine inverse, 7 divided by 12. I get about 54.31. That was for my angle A. And don't forget to add a degree symbol on there because you actually found an angle measure. So we got to make sure we label that. Next up, we're going to solve for angle C. I want to put my finger on angle C. This time, actually, the 7 is the opposite side, not adjacent. So I have O and H. That's going to be a sine for us. So sine of C this time is 7/12. Swing that sine over to the other side, and you get inverse 7/12. I'm just going to type that in quick. And I get about 35.69 degrees. Next up is number 3. It looks very much like number 1. I'm pretty sure I'm going to cut that out of the notes. So if you don't have it, just skip this part. But we'll just quick run through this one in case I kept it in your notes packet. So we got this angle, we got the 90. We should be able to figure out angle T pretty easily. 180 minus the 90 minus the 24 would leave me with 66 degrees for angle T. We need to find TR and we need to find TA. So from 24's perspective, from that angle, the 33 is the adjacent. And this guy's our hypotenuse, and that's our opposite. So I'm just going to cover up O for now. I'm left with A and H. That is a cosine. So cosine of, 24 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. This time we get H with our cosine, and our 33 is by itself. So we're going to have to divide by cosine of 24. And that's, you can't hardly see it. That's all I'm going to type in. So 33 divided by cos 24. Gives me about 36.12, and that was for my hypotenuse, which is TA. Last one is TR, so I'm just going to cover up H for the time being. I have an O and an A, so that's a tan. Squeeze that in here. Tan of 24 equals opposite over adjacent. Put that over 1, and these two just get multiplied. So 33 tan 24 is going to equal our opposite side. And I got about 14.69. And that's a side, so don't put a degree symbol on that. That was your only angle. So if you get an angle, you're going to set that up like I would say normal, like we spent several days doing this kind. If you don't get any angles, then you're going to have to use your inverses. That's how you find your angle measures. 2 more at the bottom, just a couple of word problems. The first one says you're skiing on a mountain with an altitude of 1,200 meters. That just means a height of. So here's your mountain, and it has a height of 1,200 meters. The angle of depression is 21. An angle of depression just means from the top down. So if you were standing at the top of this mountain, and you're getting ready to ski, from the horizon downward, that's what they're talking about, is 21 degrees. That's an angle of depression. So it started at the horizon, and then it went down. Then it's saying, how far did you ski down the mountain? So hopefully we're skiing down this way. That would be a nice, easy path to take. And our mountain is 1,200 meters tall. This should be a 90. We're measuring straight up the mountain. So that's 21. It's actually not even inside of our triangle. And hopefully this is also a 90 up here. So 90 minus my 21 will give me the angle that's actually inside, and that would be 69 degrees. And we're looking for that. So across from the 90 is our hypotenuse, and next to 69 is the 1,200, which is our adjacent. So this is a cosine of 69 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So doing my cross multiply, I get x cos 69. On the other side, I get 1 times 1,200, so just 1,200. And then we have to divide by cos 69. So 1,200 divided by cos 69 gives me about 3,348 meters. That's an angle of depression, so it goes from the top downward. This next one says angle of elevation, so that's going to actually go from the bottom up. Depression, top down, elevation, bottom up. You want to build a skateboard ramp with a length of 14 feet and an angle of elevation of 26. So here's my skateboard ramp. Should be a 90-degree angle. The length of the ramp is 14 feet, and the angle of elevation is 26, and I wrote a 4. Angle of elevation is from the ground up, so there it is. Find the length and height of the ramp. That's weird. Turn that, or cross that off. I already told you it's 14. I bet I meant to just write height. What is the height of the ramp? From the angle, we've got the opposite, and across from the 90, we've got the hypotenuse, so we've got an O and an H. So we're looking at sine of 26 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Put that over 1. We'll do our cross multiply. So I got 14 sine 26, and 1 times x is x. And this I get to just type in because my variable's on the other side, so I just have to hit a 14 sine 26. And I find out that this ramp is about 6.14, what were we, feet tall. So that's how you solve a triangle. You're always going to get 3 values, and then you have to find the other 3. If you get one of the angles, you can do 180 minus to find the other. If you get no angles, then you got to do inverses in order to find those.